bad work conditions, being underpaid, watching the inequality being happen. Watching that's almost a form of abuse to be underpaid like that. That's a bad work condition.
When I get this, I got a ATM switcher. I got to get that set up. We're gonna really break this down by like how some of these jobs are, the disparities and stuff like that. Because income inequality and work conditions are kind of weird. Because from working different jobs in IT, I know from like working at different government jobs or something like that, the pay may not be great, but the work condition may be so laid back. I don't know if this is true, but it seems like, hey, we can't pay them a lot, so let's not make their job situation terrible because we can't afford to just have a big drop in turnover. So it's like you're not getting paid that much, but if you make it, you get hired in, it's hard to get fired. You know what I'm saying?
That's one of my favorite things, and it's something I do. You have to kind of weigh. It's stress to income ratio.
Right.
Some jobs may not be giving you the income, but the stress is a little bit lighter. You know what I mean?
Right,
you know what I mean? You know, it's like if it was any more stressful, I definitely wouldn't do this job.
Right.
It's just hidden benefits for each job. You know what I mean? It's just different pros that aren't listed on the company benefits, but they're in there hidden. You know what I mean? Whether it's a downtime issue, whether it's your lunch break is like 2 hours, or whether it's something the food is free. You know what I mean, or something like that. They throw in little things like that to kind of to increase employee morale. You know what I mean? Because we can't pay you. You know what I mean? Let's get my pizza.
Because, man, there's jobs out here, they're giving away money, but you got to have this, and this. You got to have A, B, C, and D. And in some jobs, they'll say, we want a bachelor's degree and or equivalent experience. But, if you don't know the right person or you can't sell yourself in the interview, you're gonna be in one of those two categories: income inequality or work conditions. Just because you get a degree, it's more to just having a degree. You know what I'm saying? You gotta still ace the interview. Like you can't even teach that. That's something you have to kind of go through and kind of find yourself and learn yourself. Cause you have to walk into a room with two strangers or however many people and interview with you. You got to make them comfortable enough to feel like they want to bring you into wherever company X or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So imagine the higher you go up, the more people you interview with. How about that? Imagine walking into a room with 5 people interviewing you. It's 5 and it's 1 of you and it's 5 of them and they all looking at you. And you got to handle this. You got to kind of take over this room at one time, you know what I'm saying? And if you're shy, an introvert, they'll eat you for lunch. And they'll entertain them. They'll eat you for lunch in an interview. So you have to, you know what I'm saying, think about these things. Don't let you make it quit the job, but figure out how can I win? How can I overcome this? How can I work in here until I need to get to where I need to get to instead of just quitting and not having nothing? Because I'm telling you, man, sometimes I pass by that workforce on the way to work. Man, that line, boy, some days be long, man. Man, you kind of go up there early trying to get a head start in the line, and when you get there, the line is all the way to the back, man. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, but, a lot of people are, like I said, resigning, but like I said, a lot of people do want jobs. They're so, many different things. And he was saying earlier about you want to have A, B, C, and D, and they require bachelor's degree, also 5 to 10 years experience in related field or related skills, things like that. There's just more reasons to say no to you. And you can have A, B, C, and D, and they can still say no. Right. For whatever reason. They have a right to choose you. And then you're talking about taking an interview in front of 5 people, 12 people, video conference, phone interviews. Doing a good job, sometimes things are against you. 2 of the people interviewing you might have somebody else already in mind.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And they already have their favorite, player. You know what I mean? So there may be...
I went to interviews that, I know this for a fact. I went to interviews and they'll interview people just to have the legal process of interviewing people, but they already got the person picked out. You go to the interview and you be like, okay, clearly they already got somebody picked out. They just really just going through the motions, you know what I'm saying?
And some people might not know. Like, the two of the people know they want this guy and they're going to get this guy. The other three you may have won over, or that one, but it's still,
you can tell though when you're gonna. Sometimes you can tell, they was looking for. It's like an even playing. You go in there and you kind of start talking, and people perk up like, oh wow, this guy's pretty good. This guy's pretty good. So you kind of gotta have a little bit of insight. Kind of got a little bit of discernment, man, on how to talk to people. I think most people don't really not comfortable talking to strangers sometimes. And that's kind of one of the best things, because you kind of taught that in school, don't deal with strangers. But when you get in these jobs, you don't know these people. This is the first time you're meeting them. That's the first time meeting you.
Yeah, and you have to give an impression. I mean, I've been on a job interview where I did really good. Yeah. And, like, after interviews, like, man, I kind of, really like interview. We love your, really love your resume. And, actually talking to you, you'd be a perfect fit for the job. Right. But, like, right after the interview. So they knew this before the interview. She's like, man, we're probably not going to be able to hire you. We're not going to hire you. We already got somebody. Right. You know what I mean? So they knew that before I took the interview. But, she was like, well, it was just formality. Right. You taking this interview. I can put your name on there and say I sat with you for 30 minutes. Exactly. You know what I mean? But it was good to know that. I mean, of course, but at least I'm not waiting around the phone for like 2 weeks to tell me that I didn't get it.
And then you just don't be afraid of rejection, man. Sometimes some interviews you don't get. I've known so some jobs I didn't get. It's probably a good thing that I didn't get it, because I probably wouldn't have fit the culture of that job. So I understand. Like, sometimes, man, people going to tell you no. You got to be okay with that. And there's nothing wrong with going to interview. You need that experience to interview. As much as you can interview, the better you'll be. Exactly. So when you come up on a job that you want, or that opportunity, you'll be ready. If you only been working 10 years and only had 2 interviews, I mean, unless you really love that job, but nowadays, I mean, who are getting really like crazy raises nowadays? Especially if you're not on the executive level. I mean,
or you're not in sales. Sales is always, it's a little volatile because it's high and low. Yeah. But you know what I mean. You kind of create your own fate. But a lot of people but they don't. A lot of people don't like the inconsistency sometimes of it. But sometimes we have natural sellers. I would suggest anybody. They go on interviews, like, especially if you're young. Hey, go to interview for a dollar store or Taco Bell or anything like that. Yeah. See if you get it, practice it, ask for feedback. Because these people, especially with high turnover jobs, these interviewers even though they're hiring and firing these people, those interviewers are getting so much experience interviewing people. So they can tell you, hey, well, most people they don't dress right, or they don't do this, or they don't do that, because they interview people all the time.